Yo, what's up, everybody? It is Wednesday, July 30th. Wow, one more day left in the month. So, the Fed, as expected, kept interest rates. There were two dissenters, Christopher Waller and Michelle, I forget her last name anyway, it doesn't matter, but this morning, I gotta laugh at this stuff, man. Like, this morning, I saw an article online about here's how you gotta trade the market because this is gonna be the first time since 1993 that two people are gonna dissent on the FOMC. And I'm like, really, man? Like, we've taken this monetarism psychosis is what I call it. It's a mental illness. This monetarism mental illness and how it is embedded in everything, man, just in the financial industry, in the financial media, commentary, everything. I mean, we've taken it, you keep drilling down on this. It's almost like a quantum mechanics. Like every time they think they found the ultimate particle or something like that, they find something beyond that, smaller. So it was like, it's not even enough that everybody is like glued to their freaking screens and TV sets every time there's a Fed meeting. That's another thing that cracks me up, is because you got all these people out there saying, oh, the market sets the rates. The market sets the rates. Meanwhile, every time there's a freaking Fed meeting, they're all glued to their screens, at 1:59 and 59 seconds Eastern time, waiting for what the Fed says. I mean, if the market sets the rates, why are you all sitting around your screens waiting to see what the Fed is going to do? But now that's not even enough. Apparently, we got to develop some kind of a strategy if two people don't go along with the rest of the FOMC members. Do you realize how idiotic this is, folks? How completely mental? So I said yesterday, I don't pay any attention to this stuff. I just, I look at the flows, and if the Fed does something, I understand what the impact of that is going to be. Just like back in 2022 when I said, you know what? When they start raising interest rates, it's going to end up being very, very bullish because the government pays interest. And as the Fed raises interest rates, that's just going to be a fiscal transfer. That's a fiscal operation. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And what's everybody screaming about? Oh, the government's spending more on interest than on defense. I told you that was going to happen. I also said that the Fed was going to go into a negative equity position because I think the threshold was around 2.5% on the Fed funds rate. Once they went above that, and given the fact that they pay interest on reserves, they're going to be running negative. But I said that's probably not going to be a matter. But I was curious to see what the reaction of Congress was going to be, but apparently they don't even give it. They don't give a damn. They don't give a shit. Not that they should, actually, except for the fact that every year when the Fed was making money on its portfolio, it was required to turn those profits over to the Treasury. That's another thing for all these people saying the Fed is this independent, entity that we got no control over. They gotta turn all their profits over, with the exception of what they need to operate. They gotta turn it all over to the Treasury, which is basically, the Treasury is the U.S. government. That's us, okay? Supposedly, anyway. We can call it that. So then I said today, I sent out an email. I said, okay, the fireworks are gonna come when Powell speaks in the press conference, because that's always what happens, all right? And I said, whatever happens, especially if it goes down, if the markets go down, you go against that. Because that is just emotional, knee-jerk trading It's not even trading. I wouldn't even call it trading. It's just emotional, knee-jerk, doing anything that has no basis in any kind of reality whatsoever, all right? And sure enough, like I didn't watch the press conference. I don't pay attention. I don't watch CNBC. I don't watch Fox Business. But then a friend of mine sent me a thing saying that Powell said, like, this tariff inflation stuff, it's going to take a longer time to develop. So like the inference in that is that we're going to have to keep rates high for a longer period of time. When I heard that, when I read that, it's going to take a longer time to develop. That so much reminds me of all these people, these debt doomsday people like Ray Dalio and all of them, and Schiff and all of them have been saying like the debt, and guys like Rand Paul, one day we're getting there. We're almost there. It's coming. We're going to get there one day. Trust me, it's going to happen. I mean, now it's like the Fed is kind of doing that with the inflation, the tariff inflation, which there hasn't been any so far. But now apparently Powell, and I got to say something about this dude. I mean, this dude, for this little frail man, I didn't even know he was like that little and that frail. Like, I never saw him compared to anybody else. But last week when I saw him standing next to Trump, and I said this, he looked like a little withered, frail man, like, and he looked so sad. Like his mouth, it goes down like that. I think he's in his 70s. I'm 68. I mean, once you get up in this age, man, like there's not much difference, all right? But like, I was shocked at how frail and small he looked compared to Trump. I mean, Trump is 78. He looks vital. He looks strong, man. And his Powell. But like I said, I gotta give credit to Powell. I don't know if credit's the right word, but like that guy's a tough little cookie with all of that public criticism that Trump heaps on him. And this guy's just throwing it right back in Trump's face, saying like, hey, man, I'm not getting out of here, and we're not cutting rates. And I don't care if two members of the FOMC of the committee said they want to cut rates. We're not cutting rates. I'm not getting out of here. And not only that, we're going to keep rates high. Maybe there was even an inference in there, I don't know, that maybe they could raise rates, right? So what happened? The market sold off sharply on his comments, but we bought the bottom of that dip. It came back. All right. Because you got to go against this stuff. I don't know how many times I got to repeat this, but when you see this kind of emotional behavior, and especially when it's based on a total, not just a lack of understanding, but a completely diametrically opposed to the actual reality of how it works. Like completely opposite. Okay? Completely opposite. So all of this reaction, that's why I say, like, whatever happens with these Fed meetings, you got to go against the reaction, because on the very basis of the fact that everybody is interpreting this thing through a wrong understanding. So by definition, you have to go against that. See what I'm saying? And that's exactly what happened. Now, I said Thursday, Friday, tomorrow's Thursday, Friday, we have first of the month payments going out. That's a big flow day. Plus, we have Social Security payment going out on Friday. So Friday is going to be a huge flow day, positive flows, net flows and leading flows. Then we have August 15th, which is going to be a quarterly interest payment. Big, huge again. So we're getting into an environment right now in August with very, very bullish monetary conditions. And when I say monetary conditions, I'm not talking about these idiots, at the Fed and these monetarist idiots on TV. I'm talking about what's real monetary conditions, which is transfers to the economy from the government. That's what I'm talking about. So yeah, that's what happened today. We got the EIA weekly petroleum status report. There was a 7 million, I think it was a 7.7 million build in crude inventories. Gasoline was down a little. Distillate was up. Exports were soft. Gasoline demand was up. Distillate demand kind of flat. Jet fuel demand was very strong, but it's summer travel season. I didn't read anything particularly strongly bullish in that report. If anything, if you look at exports trailing off, and if you look at the big build in crude inventories, I actually thought it was a little bit on the bearish side, but crude rallied. But what I've been seeing, or not just me, but what has been the case, is that producers have been selling these rallies, selling futures into these rallies. So I suspect that's going to be the same thing. I don't think this, 70 price level on WTI, I don't think that's going to hold. The other thing today was copper. There's another example. This is another great example. Like, what was it, like a week ago or something, 10 days ago, Trump said he's going to put a 50% tariff on copper, imported copper, and then the price shot up like crazy. And I pointed out in my MMT Trader report, which many of you probably don't get, I don't know why, but I said producers were selling heavily into that price spike. They knew something was going on. And sure enough, today, Trump says, oh yeah, well, we're going to put 50% tariffs except for certain types of copper. All right, like raw material copper anodes, or whatever they're called, certain other types of copper, and then boom, the price crashed down. And what did we do? We bought some today. We bought some stock in Freeport-McMoRan, FCX. It was down over 10%. Bought that, that dive. So this is what I'm talking about. All these people who jump in like this, that they really don't know anything. They're just everybody running at the same time off of this headline or that headline. And they don't know what they're doing. They're like chickens running around with their heads cut off. You ever see a chicken with its head cut off? I've seen it, man. Farmer chopped it off, chicken's still walking around like nothing's going on, but it's dead, but its head's been cut off. But it's what happens, man. Yeah, and that's it. Anyway, tonight I was sparring at the gym. Here's the thing, and I've said this before, like I don't look forward to it. I literally have to force myself. But that's a good thing. I mean, that's a discipline. Sometimes I get to the gym and I see guys in there who, let's say I've sparred with them before and it wasn't, it was a tough spar, or maybe it's a new guy. I don't know how good he is or whatever. And there's always a hesitation on my part. Like literally I'm thinking in my head, like, maybe I should just go home. But what I do is I force myself. I go over to the guy and I say, hey, you want to do a couple of rounds? Like I force myself to do it. That's what discipline is. Doing something even though you don't want to do it. And that's a very, very positive thing. That's growth. That is strength. That is mental toughness. That is, keeping yourself on the right track, even though you don't want to do it, especially when you don't want to do it. And actually tonight I did pretty well, and it was a guy who was good. Started off a little slow, but then I was good in the latter part of our rounds. So yeah, and then you get out of that and you feel freaking great. So like I always say, man, just seek discomfort. Go for it. Wherever you can find it. In the gym, walking up to people, you want to, strike up a conversation with somebody. In the markets, take a position that makes you nervous. Like here's the thing that I've always said, like when people talk about, and this to me is like one of the biggest fallacies that have been put out there, and it's embraced as a kind of a truism, as a kind of something that's true, but it's not. And it's like timing. It's all about timing. It's not about timing. You could never know when the exact correct time is. It's all about taking action. And then you adjust if you have to adjust. Because you have the skills, or you learn the skills. And you control your emotions. So when I hear people say, oh, it's all about timing, it's never about timing. It's about time, right? I've said that. Time makes you rich. If you start in this game early and you do it right and you accumulate good assets. But it's not about timing. Anyway, that's it for today, folks. Please like and subscribe. And don't forget, go to my website, pitbulleconomics.com. Sign up for a 30-day free trial to MMT Trader. Bye.